Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you so much for coming, Mr. Dryden. It's an honor and a pleasure, and thank you for taking on this initiative. It's an important issue. I practiced emergency medicine. I was an ER doctor for 20 years before going into this line of work, and of course, we would see a lot of sports-related injuries, and we would read up on the science behind, how to treat them, but also to prevent them. And I'm sure you know there are certain medical guidelines. Of course, the big one we talk about a lot is the return to play guidelines, and it's actually fairly well spelled out. If they don't remember the event, but they weren't confused, you're off for an hour, so and so. And if there's any, the big one being, if there was actually a loss of consciousness, you're pulled for the season. Now, what the challenge that we would have, and I'm glad you're talking about the decision makers, because sometimes it would be a problem, first of all, getting the science to those who would make the decisions in policy. But the other challenge as well was enforcement. On more than one occasion, I would tell a young athlete who, and this would be someone who's under 18, so there's a parent there who's helping them make their decisions, and I'd say, well, no, you are out. You are out for at least 2 weeks because this. But they say, well, we're in the playoffs. 2 weeks, the season's over, and I say, I'm very sorry, but you are pulled for the season, and it would be the same reaction. They'd look at each other and they say, yeah, okay, I'm off for the season, and I swear I'd see them wink, and I know that they're going to play, and I have no power to prevent this. So what are the challenges? How do we get from those of us who work with the science and know that this is what needs to be done, how do we get this filtered in a meaningful way through the decision makers, and how do we get it enforced?
Well, it's very interesting, and it's a part of lots of discussions about this subject, and where we talk about the players and the players becoming more aware, and then it's a yes, but the players want to play. Well, then you want the coaches to be more aware, and you get out the sort of the cheat sheet that tells you ask this question and well, yes, but it's hard to get those out and to get them out to everybody, because most games are fairly informal and this and that, and then and all I'm saying, and the same with with in terms of the doctors, that well, you get this awareness out to them, but then you're into these moments where, is he okay? Is she okay? Is she not? She's almost. And you get into all of that, and you can do a lot better in each of those areas, but you're always going to have a yes but in it. You're not ever going to get 16-year-old, 18-year-old, 25-year-old players who are going to, with any great frequency, say, no, I'm done. I know I can't continue, and of doctors and coaches and all the rest of it. That's why prevention matters so much. Is that all of those other things offer partial answers, but they have answers where you can drive a freight train through, and so that the key to it all is in terms of doing the best you can to avoid the circumstance where the player is put into that situation, the coach is in that situation, the doctor, the trainer, the parent, the on-ice official or on-field official is put into that position, because we're going to fall short. We're going to fall shorter than we need to fall, and that's why acknowledge that. Don't try. Always try to do better that way, but don't assume that's going to end up being your best answer. The best answer is still going to be in how we play and in the sports decision makers.
Well, absolutely. But if I may, but what we deal with, like particularly again with the return to play guidelines, they are prevention in a way. I mean, they're not the prevention of the first injury, but, you know, as we know that you know, the effects of concussion are additive. You know, someone can have one concussion, a minor one, and they might go on and do well. A second concussion on top of that's worse. A third concussion is worse. So, although you're right, you know, they come to the emergency department, they've had their concussion, but you have means of preventing another concussion. And there are some simple ideas that we don't know how to filter through. If these leagues, I've never actually been shown a form, because I don't think there's a policy for one, that would have to be returned to the coach with my signature on it and my recommendations on it. That would be a simple administrative fix where I would have a very meaningful way that, you know, this player is not allowed to play without this note, and that note has my recommendations. How do we get these kinds of recommendations that we know, you know, could be effective out into the decision makers so that it gets enforced?
Well, I think that's a question for you to ask the doctors and excuse me, the sports administrators, you know, in it. I mean, I think that what they will say in part is that, oh my God, you know, that the number of players, the doctors, the ability to get appointments, you know, whatever those answers are, at least in part, they do represent answers and represent significant obstacles, and so I think those are questions that you ask, and to find out the extent to which that represents a big part of the answer, a lesser part of the answer, or even less of a part of an answer. You know, I mean, I think that's part of the discovery that you're going to be able to, you're going through, and that you have the chance to, because you're going to be able to ask those questions to people who are attempting to apply this on the ground.
And now we're going to be